Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Gleesy,
And I'm Al.
and here at Forever I Do, we want to connect, impact, and inspire thriving marriages. Welcome back to part three of our series titled Legacy Built Breaking Down the Vision. So, guess what? What are we talking about today?
We're talking about everybody's favorite subject.
Everyone's?
Everybody's. Intimacy.
Ooh.
We're talking about intimacy because we're going to break it down. Just like we're breaking down the vision, we're going to break this down as well. I know myself going into marriage, I had no clue what intimacy really was. I kind of thought, I did think foreplay. I did think, some of the usual things, flirting and things like that. But I thought that was reserved for the bedroom.
Mm.
Um, I didn't really know that foreplay or flirting or any of those things happen outside of the bedroom.
What?
Um,
They have it outside the bedroom?
and I also thought intimacy meant sex.
Of course.
Like, hold me, cuddle, like,
talk to me, whisper sweet nothings in my ears.
So I didn't really think all of those things going into marriage, and I had a learning curve. I don't know if you're like me, and maybe you experienced that as well. You had a bit of a learning curve. Maybe you still don't think that foreplay or flirting or intimacy actually happens outside of the bedroom. Maybe you think that's only something that happens there. But let's be real. If you wait till you get in the bedroom,
it's too late.
Yes,
way too late.
Especially, once you get further along in your marriage, maybe you have children. Again, you wait till you get in the bedroom and you want to hear some snoring. You want to hear, you want to get the cold shoulder. Maybe not intentionally, but somebody probably be asleep. Somebody may not be in the mood because you spent the whole day. You went from work to work when you got home, because now you were working with the kids and you just exhausted. There was no deposits throughout the day in order for you to actually feel intimate once you got to the bedroom.
That's good. That's good.
So foreplay and flirting.
Yes, and it starts outside the bedroom. You got to make it fun.
And you got
to learn like what your spouse likes. Like I know what you like, so I'll flirt with you that way, but you can't flirt with me the same way I flirt with you, because I don't want that.
And again, we mentioned love languages. They come into play again here, because if you don't know your spouse's love language, you may be calling yourself flirting or foreplay, and they looking at you like you crazy, doing? Like why did you just do that? And I've had some of those moments.
Don't go into detail.
Yeah. I'll just say this, like, I'm a butt man, and I remember winding back and doing a little tap, and it was like, what in the world? Why did you just do that? Like, in my mind, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Kids sleep, let's no. That did not work.
Well,
that was not.
Lesson learned. So good. All right, so foreplay starts outside of the bedroom.
Yes.
And I also think like you have to tie things back into like your date nights. Date nights are so important because it's like your time to unwind.
Yes. Again, like we harp on this a lot. Like you have to schedule those date nights. Yeah. Have them as often as you can. If you are married and you don't have kids, have as many date nights as you can now, because you don't have as many scheduling conflicts, or you shouldn't. You shouldn't allow anything outside of your marriage to actually interfere with that. And while you shouldn't let children interfere as well, sometimes daycare and other things can come into play. So have as many as you can before you actually settle down and have children and things like that. But even when you do have children, still have them as often as you can. Again, make it fun.
Try new things.
Yes, absolutely. Don't get caught up in the same old this is our favorite restaurant. We're gonna go here every week. And again, we've been there.
Yeah.
We used to do that.
I'm guilty.
Yes, somebody had a favorite restaurant that ended Fridays, and we were always there. And
I didn't need a menu. I knew what I was ordering.
And I was like, we gotta upgrade this. We gotta do something different. But yeah, try different things. Go to different places. Try different foods.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like it. I remember we went to this fancy ritzy restaurant with some friends for a date night.
Mm-hmm.
Expensive menu and everything.
And what did we do?
At the end of the night, all of us and the other couple, we looked at each other, and I think I was the one who was like, "Are y'all still hungry?" And they was like, "Yes, we're still like." And we all looking at each other like, "Why did we just do this?" So we leave the restaurant and go to Cheesecake Factory and end up eating cheesecake at the middle of the night because we were all still starving. But again, it was the experience, trying something different.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, go back to what's familiar just for the night.
Just for the night.
Yes, for the moment or whatever. But be willing to try new things. And the same goes for the flirting and the foreplay. Be willing to try new things. Of course, get your partner's agreement before you try new things.
That's so good.
But if, again, you want to pretend to be somebody else or meet out at a restaurant and maybe your spouse goes there first and then you decide that you're going to show up and y'all act like y'all don't know each other, y'all want to do that kind of thing. But again, just try different things. Try to spice things up.
Absolutely.
You have to keep the foreplay in your marriage. You have to keep the flirting in your marriage. And again, you got to remember that it starts well before you get into the bedroom. It should be a continuing thing. Even something as simple as a middle of the day phone call, a lunchtime phone call,
a text message.
Yes, and just saying something silly or whatever may spark something in their mind that when they get home, they'll remember that at the end of the day.
It's true. Like I think I always ask you, did you think about me today?
Yes.
It's just little things that you want your spouse to desire you and want you. So I think it's really important to show it.
And if you saw our reel yesterday, it was kind of an example of what's foreplay to my wife. Like, if I'm taking care of home, if I'm taking care of laundry, the kids are down and sleep when she gets home and things like that, that's kind of build up to her.
Yeah.
It's taking things off of her plate.
Yeah. One less thing for me to one less thing for me to worry about. So, it kind of frees up my mind to kind of prepare for what's going to happen later.
So, fellas, again, if you want to know what to take off your spouse's plate, just ask them like this simple question. Like, you could be lying in the bed at night and just look over and actually say, like, what's one bag that I can unpack for you? Again, that's a tool that we've actually learned. And again, it's something that'll actually help to ease their mind. Whether you want to believe it or not, and the ladies can probably tell you, quite often they're carrying a lot of bags, and you could be thinking it's time for y'all to have that intimate moment, to have sex at night, and they're still running through their to-do list. They're still running through what happened at work. They're still running through something that's going on with family, and you're in the mood and they aren't in the mood because mentally they are not there. Right. So just ask, like, what's that bag that I can unpack for you? And it probably will actually help facilitate the moment actually happening the next time, because now you can use those things for foreplay. You can unpack that bag and you can actually make the load lighter before they actually get to the moment.
That's good. That's good. So this last thing that we're going to talk about today is a little controversial, and that is schedule sex.
Yes. Again, like, even to us, it was controversial to us. It was like, schedule sex, like, isn't it supposed to be spontaneous? Shouldn't it just happen? It should just be something that's in the mood. Like, you don't actually, schedule it. But again, like, whether you have kids or not, it's so important to actually schedule it, because you just get busy living life, work, family outside of the home. If you do have children, the children and sports and all the extracurricular activities that we seem to actually surround ourselves or actually build our lives on can often overwhelm you to the point where you just don't feel like you have time for it. but you have to schedule it. You have to be intentional about ensuring that it happens, because it's such a key and critical piece of the intimacy in your marriage and your relationship. So again, you need to make sure that it's happening.
Yes.
So scheduling it is not a bad thing. It's actually an excellent tool to to be intentional about it.
Give it a cute name.
Yes.
Don't just put sex on the calendar.
Yes. Especially if you have children. I don't know if you've seen that commercial where the little boy is actually telling mom about the kitty cat or something like that. But again, like, schedule it, give it a name, something that you both can actually talk about, even when you're around other people. You might be talking about peeling potatoes, and everybody looking at, why are they talking about potatoes? And that's your keyword or something like that. But just name it something that only you and your spouse know about, but you can talk about it. Again, that's a form of flirting that you can actually use. Yes, throughout your day. You can even call them up.
Babe, you want to go peel some potatoes?
That's not our word. Don't worry. But again, like, it can be something fun that you can actually share with each other. You can give your spouse a phone call in the middle of the day and just, again, drop that keyword, have that on their mind for when you get home, or for whatever day you decide to schedule it on. Again, it just helps you to be intentional about it. It helps kind of, again, make the mood light, because you're not just saying, we're going to have sex today or whatever. You're making it fun.
And it's not that that's the only time that you have sex, but that is like your intentional time that you set aside to spend with your spouse. I mean, any other time of the week is great, but if nothing else happens, on that day it will happen. So now, with that being said, there are some times where it just doesn't happen.
Yes. And again, that's where communication comes into play. You absolutely have to communicate to your spouse that it's not going to happen today. We know that life happens, but again, you have to make sure you're saying something. You don't want to actually, fellas, come into the house and the lights are dim, the lingerie is on, the wine is out, and you're like, oh man, like, I forgot that was supposed to happen today. You just roll in late or something like that, because now you ruined that mood, but you probably also may have ruined it for the next couple of weeks or something. So just make sure you communicate. If it's not going to happen, you actually give a phone call ahead of time. Don't wait till the moment and say, oh no, my bad, it ain't going to happen tonight. Communicate ahead of time so that, again, that they know and you know, and don't stop there. Say it's not going to happen, but also add that but to it and say, but I got you tomorrow. I got you on whatever, a couple of days later. Make sure that you actually give a date where it will happen, so that you're not just leaving them hanging. And because again, it can actually crush the intimacy in your relationship if you continue for that to occur.
Absolutely. You have to, especially if it doesn't happen, like when you come back with it, it has to be really intentional. And I think another thing that we can touch on is, when it doesn't happen, it's not rejection. And like, sometimes it can be really tense, and you want to make sure that you're actually talking about those feelings. Like, you don't want it to fester on, and it's like weeks and you guys haven't been intimate with each other just because of that moment. You want to make sure that you're talking and discussing how you're feeling.
And go into it with an actual attitude to serve. So intimacy, sex is about serving the other person. It's not about getting yours. It's about serving the other person. So if it's not a legitimate reason, and you guys should be able to communicate to each other what are legitimate reasons to actually end our night or whatever, or to actually say our night's not happening. It shouldn't just be, I don't feel like it. Like, that may be controversial, whatever, but again, if you are going into it with an attitude to serve, you may not feel like it, but again, that's where it comes up to both of you to actually flirt and to actually have that foreplay and to actually work on creating that atmosphere to kind of get you both into the mood. So it shouldn't just be a case where you don't feel like it, but they still think it's going to happen, and you just like, no reason, it's just not happening, and so forth. But again, communication is key in that. It has to be a serving mentality.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to flirt, and we're going to have foreplay that starts outside the bedroom.
Yes, well before you get into the bedroom. Again, make sure you are flirting with your spouse. Make sure you are actually setting the atmosphere. You are having that foreplay, and know the love language so that you can do it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it like you want to receive it. Do it how they actually want to receive it and they actually enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to schedule your date nights.
Yes, have them as often as you can. Again, before kids, have them as often as you can, because life will happen to you. And now you're trying to schedule babysitters and you're running the kids up the road here, there, or whatever, just to try to have that date night.
Yeah.
They still will happen, but you have to be intentional about them.
Absolutely.
And have them as often as you can.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps the spice, it keeps the flair, it keeps the spark, whatever you want to call it. It keeps it going in your marriage.
Mm-hmm. And you want to schedule sex.
Yes, again, this does not take away from it being spontaneous. This just makes you that much more intentional. And it's not the only time that sex has to happen. So if you only have it scheduled once a month, that doesn't mean you only have it once a month. Again, that's probably something that you want to have as often as you can as well. There are health reasons for it too. Like it can do some mental health wonders for you.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on part 3 of our series, Legacy Built, Breaking Down the Vision. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to hear more from us, hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for sharing our content. We truly, truly, truly want to connect, impact, and inspire thriving marriages. Guys, we'll see you next time in our next video.
See you guys.